Welcome to United Hour, your one-stop shop for all things Manchester United. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm Ashwin.
Yeah, two of us convening here on Easter weekend. It is Saturday evening. We were the early kickoff today. We got a solid 2-0 win against Everton, so we'll be focusing on that game. We'll also be touching on the 1-0 win against Brentford midweek. And yeah, it's actually been 3 matches since we last recorded. 2-0 loss to Newcastle. So, you know, if we'd recorded a week ago, it would have all been very depressing. Everybody was saying top four was in danger. We weren't playing well. Things were going downhill. But thankfully, we have had 2 pretty good wins, actually. I mean, as I said, I think we could talk about Everton and Brentford kind of together. You know, it was absolutely vital to bounce back after that Newcastle game. As I said, everybody was a little bit worried. You know, a few weeks ago, I think we did the podcast and people were saying, oh, look, we're secure top 4. We can focus on these cups. And, you know, I'd been going all along saying I'm really worried about our amount of matches. I don't think we're absolutely solid in top 4. Now that we've got that Carling Cup, League Cup in the bag, I want to make sure that's done before we start getting too excited about these other cups. And then, yeah, as I say, all of a sudden we dropped a few points. Casemiro missing. He obviously had that red card and 0-0 with Southampton. So, yeah, we weren't dropping points everywhere. But, yeah, now things are looking back on track. As I said, 2-0 against Everton today. I think we've played pretty well in both of our last 2 games, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say we've played well. It's just really frustrating that we haven't scored more, to be honest. That's it. Like, it feels like our margin for error is so thin because, I mean, today I think our XG at halftime was like 2.2. And we had 1 goal. And I mean, honestly, when you're at a top club, you expect your players at the top end of the pitch to be more decisive. The quality of chances that we created, you would have expected to be 3 or 4 clear at halftime. Because I have no idea. Like, Deitch usually comes to, you know, Old Trafford and it's just a low block and it takes, you know, an hour to take it apart. They were playing a super high line the entire first half. And we got in behind, Rashford got in behind twice. I think Anthony got in behind twice. There were other, like, there were so many chances and to only be 1-0 up. And it was a great goal. I mean, it was a really good goal, but it felt a little disappointing. But I agree, like, we controlled both matches. Defensively, we were solid in both matches. Everton had did they have 1 shot on target, I think?
Yeah, they actually had a pretty good chance, like in that first half, that they fluffed completely. But that's the only one I really remember.
Yeah, that was a decent chance, and you know that they didn't score on that, thankfully. And they had 1 shot on target at the end from Coleman, which was like it was like a 25-yard shot, which whatever. But we controlled this match. I thought we generally controlled the Brentford match, even though we only, it was just a 1-0. But Brentford really did not put us under much pressure. Which was surprising because they're really good with set pieces, right? That's like kind of been their thing this year where they're really good at attacking on set pieces, and they didn't get much joy out of that. So, yeah, I would say good performances, necessary reaction after Newcastle, which was like just a totally insipid display across the board. So to bounce back from that was good, but you still feel I'm still a little bit worried. Rashford picked up a knock today, so we'll see how severe that is. And honestly, I think that on our broadcast over here, I think they said a stat, but it was like, I think Rashford has accounted for 34% of our Premier League goals this year.
Surprising even higher, actually. I mean, yeah, he's obviously been in such ridiculous form.
Yeah, and it's just worrying because without him, I mean, thankfully Martial's back. We'll see for how long that lasts. But like, I agree with you. I'm still concerned about top 4 because it's not just, Garnacho got hurt too. He was giving us good minutes. He was giving us a nice like boost off the bench too. Right? He was productive off the bench. He's out right now for a little while. Anthony hasn't been in the goals for a minute. Sancho created a nice goal today. Has not been all that productive. Like, he's not been decisive at the top end of the pitch. Who's our second leading scorer? I think it's like Fred tied with Bruno or something. Like, it's just, we're not getting enough goal contributions aside from Rashford. So I'm with you. Like, and I don't want this to be like this dire podcast, but I'm very happy with how we've reacted. but it's still concerning to me just how much we're struggling to put chances away and put goals away. But I will say, obviously, getting Casemiro back will be a nice boost. And to come through this patch without him, I don't want to say unscathed, but it could have been much worse. I think we've done okay for ourselves, so that's a good reflection on the squad and on Ten Hag. And I honestly, Ten Hag deserves some credit too, because I thought the Newcastle setup was just bad. And
we'll get on to the Newcastle later. Let's focus on these two right now. But
well, I was just gonna say, I think the adjustment, putting Rashford up top, that was a really good adjustment from him, and I think we've seen that really in the last 2 games benefit us a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who's listening to this podcast, I'm not the biggest fan of Wout Weghorst. I have been the one who said I don't want to see him here next season, even though, he's done some hard work, filled in kind of where he needs to, but lacks quality massively, especially striking-wise. I mean, I actually said today that I don't see anything Weghorst can actually do that McTominay can't. He's also a big man who can go and run around and press if needed. And I think his actual finishing is much better than Wout Weghorst. I mean, he scored 4 goals for Scotland. I mean, I know that you're not a big fan of McTominay, and you'd be the first one in our Discords or whatever to lay a couple of 2-footed tackles in on McTominay when he's had a bad performance. But he's been pretty damn good in these last 2 games, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, his goal today was a really good finish. He finished near post. Pickford didn't even have a chance to react. He looked really good today across the board. He had a little sloppy towards the end, but that's fine. He's never going to be Casemiro, and expecting him to be is just stupid. But he needs to be at this level, because what we saw in previous matches hasn't been good enough. But the last 2 matches looked good. He responded well. I thought defensively he was a lot better the last couple of matches. He's given us a physical presence in the middle of the park, which I think is good. And he's just looked a little more comfortable going forward as well. Not so much the passing, because we know he's just never going to be a really dynamic passer, but his ability to carry the ball forward is a good thing. And I mean, there's not much to say other than I'm very critical of him. I still personally would love to move on from him this summer, but in the meantime, while he's here, these are the performances you need from him, and he delivered. So that's all you can ask for. You can't ask for more than that, and he was good.
And he has started making some kind of link up in partnership with Sabitzer, the Sab midfield they've got there. I mean, to be fair, after the poor performances against Newcastle and Fulham as well, we were not that great. We got kind of out of jail with that midfield. I was saying, listen, we need to go back to McFred, tried and tested. We know their limitations, but we also know that they can deliver that kind of defensive work when needed. But Henrik Ten Hag stuck with what he thought was the best option, and they have definitely improved massively in these last 2 games. Everton today in particular, I mean, you were talking about chances missed. If we look at the XG, then today was the day. We had 20 chances in that first half, so it was the most for any Premier League team this season in one half, and the final XG is at 4.4. So to only come out with 2 goals is a bit disappointing. I mean, the Brentford game actually is at 1.1 XG. We scored a goal, so actually comes out around where we should be. And if we're talking about all of them, Newcastle, we deserved nothing. We scored nothing. We were at 0.3 XG. Newcastle at 3.3 that day, getting 2 goals. But today was the main one. Like I said, in that first half, we had chance after chance, kept getting in behind them. And I said in our kind of match day Discord that Sean Dyche will not be letting us get in this many times in the second half. He did make a defensive change with Mikhailchenko coming on, and he was kind of a bit faster and was not letting us get in behind as much. But thankfully, that breakthrough did come. It was McTominay at 36 minutes. You thought, oh God, this gets to half time and we're 0-0. They're missing all these chances. Everton could turn around and get one from somewhere. But thankfully it didn't go that way. And a great little assist from Jadon Sancho. I mean, he's had a couple of starts in this kind of run of games now. Where are you at on Jadon Sancho? I mean, look, it's obviously great that he's turned around his kind of mental issues and is at least in the squad and playing. But, you shouldn't forget there's an £80 million player player of the year out in Bundesliga. He's obviously not hitting anywhere near those heights yet. But how do you feel about him coming in for these couple of games and now he's done?
I mean, I would like more. I would love for him to take on his man, but like to me, it's very obvious that if you put him around the box and you have players making runs around the box, he can be a productive player. But he's not, like, you can't put him on the left and just expect him to be Rashford. Like he's not going to be that player. He's not electric like that with the ball at his feet. He's not just going to, try to take multiple defenders on. He doesn't have that really ability. I think he's a little bit more of a clever player, a trickier player in terms of what he's capable of with his passing. I actually thought he played well. I was encouraged by his performance today, because it wasn't just the pass to McTominay for the goal. Which, by the way, I mean that pass was that was an unbelievable ball. I couldn't believe the ball he picked there. That was really good. But he played a pass in right at the end of the first half to, I believe, Lissandro off a corner, and Lissandro could have scored. I mean, he ended up skying it, but it was a really nice little ball. And he played in a few balls into the box that were they're nice to see. And I think you can see at times what the hype was about, but you have to be honest, it hasn't been enough. You expect more, and you need more. Like there was a chance today where he's in the box, he's taking on Coleman. Coleman's giving him the line, right? He's giving him the line, and he doesn't want to take it because he wants to check back on his right foot and play it off to somebody. And it's like, I would love to see him take the line and just try and leather the ball with his left foot. It doesn't, like, who cares if you miss the goal? Like, just do something different. Try the outside option sometimes. I think sometimes he just is so dead set on coming back in and trying to link up. And it's like, it almost feels like he's like shrinking sometimes a little bit from the responsibility. And it's like, I don't think Anthony's a perfect player. And God knows his decision-making is hit or miss. But I think he shows a lot more willingness to back himself in certain situations than Sancho is. Maybe to his own detriment and to the team's detriment at times. But, like, I think you need to have that type of confidence when you play in those positions. And we've seen this with Garnacho, right? I mean, Garnacho, for better or worse, he's always willing to take his man on. Always. And I think you need that, especially at United. This club, like, I really think that you need wingers that are willing to take their man on and take those chances. And, maybe Sancho he's a different profile. And I do always feel like if we were a team that exhibited more control, we probably might see more out of Sancho. If we could kind of keep teams boxed into their area more and we're patient and are build up to a different degree. But, like, that's not what we are right now. So it always just kind of feels like at this moment in time, it's a little bit of a bad fit, different for the player and the squad. But, today was fine. Today was good. You can, the performances like today from him, you'll take, but you need more. I mean, I don't think that's too much to say. And, where am I at with him? I mean, we have to be realistic. Like, he's not going anywhere. So we have to try to make this work as best as we can in the meantime. And to Ten Hag's credit, I do feel like there are signs that it's not great, but it's better than what it was. So hopefully he can kind of find his footing and hit a higher level soon.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. As I said, we have to be happy that he's at least back in the squad, playing some kind of part there. You do feel like there should be something a bit more, and I do totally agree with you. These offense seems a bit too safe. Seems to want to come back too many times, recycle the ball, go back again. I mean, I'm always looking at the passing accuracy stats, and he's actually at 95% and getting the most touches of any of our kind of attacking 3-4 players. And you don't really want your attacking players to be that safe. You expect them to be around 80s, even 70s if they're trying something, a bit more difficult. But he's keeping very safe, keeping all the time, keeping hold of the ball. I mean, maybe Ten Hag thought we needed a bit of that because there was a bit, especially in that Newcastle game where we were giving the ball away way too much, not keeping hold of it at all. And yeah, look, if he gets an assist out of it, then it is worth it. I mean, he's got that in his locker to pull out those perfect kind of defense splitting passes to make the difference. That's what he was known at before he came to us, the guy who was hitting the most assists in the league and getting enough goals as well. But yeah, sometimes, like I say, it feels like a bit of a luxury player. Is it enough just to be making those 3 or 4 great passes? What else is he giving you the rest of the time? Whereas on the other extreme, you have Anthony, who maybe is not making, like you say, the right decisions, often giving it away, taking shots when it should be a pass. But he does do a hell of a lot of defensive hard work. You don't see as much of that from Sancho all the time. So yeah, look, they are 2 very different players, almost like direct opposites in a way, the way they play. But yeah, look, today, like I said, can't complain about him getting the assist on the board and making the difference. Really needed it. Anthony got in a couple of times in that first half, should have probably done better with his finishes. Have to give some credit to Jordan Pickford, who did make quite a few decent saves to keep us out early. It was kind of a mix of slightly poor finishing versus some good kind of defensive blocks and saves. And we've seen these kind of performances by Sean Dyche teams in the past against us, Burnley's and whatever. So yeah, to get that breakthrough before half time definitely felt like we deserved it, and we kind of needed it as well, because you thought if they turned around at any point they could pull one out. We had I think earlier in the season where Iwobi or somebody like that smashed in a random worldie against us, and you never know if things like that go the wrong way. But yeah, look, thankfully we do go in 1-0 at half time. You felt like we would build on that going forward from there. But we'll have to see. But now, yeah, we don't know enough about Rashford's injury. That was the main downer from this Everton game. As you say, if he is injured, then the likes of Sancho are going to have to step up. Martial has now made 3 cameos in a row. It's been great to see him back in. I thought he might have actually started today because, he'd had 2 kind of sub appearances, and I thought, all right, maybe he's ready to start. Ten Hag's obviously wary about the fact that he's come in, not managed to last more than a couple of games at 8 points. We're slowly bringing him forward. But if Marcus Rashford is injured, then there's going to be absolutely no choice but for Martial to be starting our next game.
Yeah, I kind of understood why he's being. He's talked about this, right? I mean, when he mentioned this earlier in the season when Martial got hurt again, where he's like, maybe we pushed him too fast, and so maybe an abundance of caution is the pivot, and that can be frustrating, but it might be the right call. And look, he's going to be thrust into a bigger role now, almost definitely. I don't think Rashford will recover and play in midweek, but we've seen Rashford make these recoveries all the time, and then we're like, well, how did he do that? But yeah, I mean, look, me and you've talked about this. We just talked about this for a bunch of pod. Is we need goals, and Martial this year especially, he's been productive when he's played, very productive when he's played. He just hasn't played that much. So I thought his finish today was actually quite good. I thought he looked sharp. I thought he actually looked sharp even last week midweek when he came on against Brentford. His touches look good. You can kind of see what that hold up ability he gives you that Rashford doesn't give you at striker. Being able to fend off the center back and hold the ball up and bring others into play. I think that's a really necessary skill set. He's obviously a very different option than your favorite Weghorst.
I had said like a couple of times, I think that even a 50% Martial is better than Martial.
He might be. I mean, yeah, and he's always been such a skillful, silky player when he's on. So it's just like, that's what makes him such a frustrating watch, right? Because when he's on, you're like, you look like the best player in the league, and then when you're not, you look disinterested and he's sloppy and he's missing chances. But he looked good today, and I think you could tell that connection. I thought that front 3 actually towards the end, I know they didn't create a lot of chances. I thought they just looked good together though. Sancho, him, and Rashford. They didn't play for too long because then he took Sancho off to bring Fred on. But I thought they looked good together, and obviously, you can tell. I don't know if you agree, but you can just kind of tell that Rashford and Martial enjoy playing together.
Yeah,
and I do think that matters. Like, I think that's a really important thing. Like,
well, actually, I don't know if you saw Ten Hag actually mentioned it in his post match.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was asked, saying, "Oh, did you think about taking Rashford off before he got injured?" And he said, look, I did think about it. He's obviously played a lot of minutes. We were 2-0 up. But he actually said, but I wanted Martial and Rashford to get back to linking together and give them a bit of time to remember, how well they do play together. And he said that's specifically why he kind of left Rashford in. And unfortunately, Sod Glory ends up getting injured and limping out with what looks like a groin strain. We have to see how bad it is. But yeah, there is a link up there. And if you remember back to pre-season, it was actually that Sancho, Rashford, Martial, who were hitting off really well in pre-season, and we've not really managed to see the three of them together at any point in the season, partly because Sancho's, had his mental issues, Martial's been injured all the time, and we've barely seen those three together.
And I think, just to go back to it real quick, but look, it was obviously a very nice slice of good fortune for us in the second goal with Coleman slipping. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy though than Seamus Coleman, so that was very nice to see. But when he, so Rashford sets, he just plays in Martial, he slots it away, but they just instantly go together to celebrate, and I don't know, you can always it always feels like when they play together and they assist each other, they really seem to take joy out of each other's performances. And I don't it's funny, right? Because Martial for us as fans has always been this enigma that we're frustrated by a lot. And Rashford's had his frustrating moments too. But it never feels like Rashford, today, you could see him getting frustrated with Antony at various points, right? It's just what are you doing? Play me in. I'm making this run right now. He never does that with Martial. They're just really on a good wavelength together. So it is good to see them play together. And, I didn't have a problem with him not bringing out Rashford. It was, he got hurt, 2 minutes? It was 5 or 6 minutes maybe after we scored. That could have happened at any time. And it was a very innocuous thing. I'm not going to, anybody that wants to kill him for that, I think that's a reach. But look, they look good together. But more importantly, Martial himself looked good. I think he looked good against Brentford too. And we're going to need him to step up, obviously, the rest of the way. 15 more points, maybe, probably does it for top 4. So we have, 9 matches left? So, hopefully he can help us get that.
We will take a quick break there, come back to finish off talking about Newcastle and also Brentford games to touch on. Still a bit more on Everton as well to go, top 4. And then, we will look ahead to our next matches coming. Back for part 2 of the show. So, look, we're talking about the 2 goals. McTominay on the score sheet, Martial on the score sheet. It is good to get somebody other than Rashford on the score sheet. Even though, look, at Brentford, it was Rashford who turned around and got that goal. As we said, we've played Wout Weghorst a lot recently. I am kind of surprised at how many minutes he's played. I think he's done some kind of good work for us, and there has been some matches. But I'm still surprised how many games he was starting. I did actually think we'd have more games where Rashford would play up front, and some of the wide players would get a chance. But in these last couple of games, that was the major change that happened from that Newcastle loss. Weghorst going out and Rashford going up front. He's still hitting it hard. He's had a great month, won so many goal of this month awards for us and player of the month. But the one now actually I think has stepped up. And today I think a lot of people were talking about McTominay being man of the match, from the telly. It was Bruno Fernandes. I thought he was absolutely outstanding in this Everton game. So many of those balls he was pinging in early on. He seems as well to be playing a bit deeper, having to do a bit more defensive work. But doing exactly what he needs to do.
I thought he was just good. It's kind of what you want to see from him. He was playing that deeper role. Everton weren't pressing much. It suited him, to be honest. I still don't fully trust him playing deeper against a more disciplined team, a team that's more aggressive, that's stronger in the press, that plays with a little bit more ambition, that has, quite frankly, more talent than Everton. But for a match like this, it was a great little tweak. He played deeper against Brentford too. I think Sabitzer ended up being higher in that match as well. So it's definitely something that Ten Hag has gone to, which is, again, this is what you want to see from a manager. That Newcastle performance was unacceptable, part of it was we couldn't move the ball from front to back, or back to front rather. So moving Bruno deeper is a nice little tweak to it. I think the opposition has helped us a bit too. But yeah, I mean, some of the balls he played in today were just unbelievable. Some he played a one crossfield pass to Anthony that was just amazing, and then he played in Rashford a few times. It was he really was on it. He was on it today. He had that kind of, he was feeling it today, and it's sad. It's unfortunate he didn't get an assist because he's deserved one today for some of the passes he was playing. But yeah, can't say enough. And like, is he the perfect player? No, he's very frustrating at times with just how aggressive he is. But like, I just have a lot of time for him when the guy doesn't miss matches. He plays 90 minutes all the time. He is running around. His work rate is unbelievable for a player asked to do what he's asked to do in our attack. And if we're being honest again, like, say whatever you want about him, and maybe it says something about the weakness of our squad and our midfield specifically, but like, when he doesn't play, we don't look like we're going to create anything ever. We just look insipid and slow.
Well, to be fair, he always plays.
Yeah.
I mean, when doesn't he play?
But like when you see it, like when he moves to the right, or if he gets sub, you see it then. Like, there's just nothing there, and I have a lot of time for him because I think he's being asked to do a lot this year, and I don't think not all of it is like the fun glory of like creating and scoring goals and creating chances, right? Like, he's being asked to do a lot of different tasks defensively as well in the press, and there are times we've asked him to play on the right, and that's a totally different thing.
I have not liked that at all. He played right a fair bit like kind of earlier in the season. Kept thinking he was too much on the periphery of games, not getting involved enough. I'd be much happier with him shifted back inside. And I think, that he is disciplined enough to do that kind of more defensive work. As I say, if you look at our kind of average position chart from today, like, McTominay is slightly deeper, but Sabitzer and Bruno are kind of in line with each other, just in front of him, and both given license to go forward. And yet it still actually is McTominay who's the one who ends up in the box and scores our goal. So they're all kind of interchanging. They're all taking it in turns to get in the box. They're all sitting back when they need be. And today, Bruno was absolutely immense. I mean, he had the most touches of anyone on the team today, 119 touches. He had a very good passing accuracy, 87%, which is kind of relatively high for him. But he saved so many key passes, so many times. It could have been a goal if it'd just been a bit better finishing from him. Also managed kind of 4 shots, a couple of those on target. And he was unlucky, like you say, not to get in a goal or assist here. But for me, he was the man of the match today.
It was also just a performance from him where, like you mentioned the Newcastle game where we just kept giving the ball away, and it's like there are times
he was actually really bad that day. I was absolutely scathing of him on after that.
Yeah, and I think there are games like that he has, which are, it's hard to like remove that from your brain because that match was so bad, and he has these games where it's like, I understand you want to create, but we're under so much pressure. We need to just keep the ball for a little bit. Just keep the ball. And I thought today there were instances where he did just keep the ball. He wasn't trying to, I have the ball, let me just try to hit, a 60-yard pass to Rashford. Let me try and play. It was like, okay, no, I'll pass it back to Lissandro. I'll get the ball off of him. Then I'll play it over to Wan-Bissaka. I'll get the ball off of him. And it's like that. You want like that. There's a balance that you have to find there. And it's hard, obviously. It's very difficult. So there'll be moments when he has few games like Newcastle and we're all like, what was that? But today, you're right. He was incredible today. I thought he was very much deserving man of the match.
Yeah, definitely. And the other good thing today was there was a bit of rotation. We saw, Malacia's played because Shaw is injured. Harry Maguire comes in and he actually had a really good game as well.
I thought he was great.
Yeah, and actually Eric Ten Hag kind of singled him out and said, we saw Harry Maguire doing things that he hasn't done for us yet this season.
He played some crossfield passes that were perfect today. Really, really good passes. Yeah.
So, it's great for these players to come in, do a little bit of a job there. But the one that I was most excited to see back in the fray was Christian Eriksen, who gets a kind of, nice 15-20 minute at the end of the game. Immediately kind of showed what we've been missing from him. And the fact that we've managed to keep this run of games going and managed to stay in the top four, go in all the cups without Eriksen and without Casemiro as well is amazing. Because, earlier in the season, that their partnership was the thing that kind of was completely changing our season from how it gone last year. And that we've gone a run of games without either of them and still managed to pull out some results is brilliant. So if he can come back in for this kind of end of season running, it's going to be brilliant. Even though it looks like now that we've probably definitely lost Luke Shaw for a bit, Garnacho, we're not sure where we're going to see him. Rashford, we have to wait and see what the news is on him. But to start getting back Eriksen, Martial, I'm not getting too excited about Martial because let's see how long he can actually last. So far, half an hour here and there. But to have him, that's the thing about Martial though, even though, maybe even like in half an hour, he probably will manage to get a goal or assist. He could hold him up for that long.
He's been really good this year when he's played, that's what's made his injuries even more frustrating. Because again, these last two matches, his little cameos, you can see exactly what we're missing, right? You see it. It's very, very transparent, especially after how many straight matches did Weghorst start? It was 16 matches or something. It was something crazy.
Far too many.
But yeah, it's nice to have him. This is not a complaint. I want to be very clear about this. But I think Pellistri, I feel like he could maybe get a few more minutes, but I understand why that hasn't happened yet. But when he's played, I think he's actually looked pretty promising. I like how direct he is, especially late in the game. You can kind of see his pace really, really can tell on defenders later in matches. So he's a nice little option they have off the bench also, and he's looked pretty productive. So he's somebody I'm interested to see if he gets a little more time towards the end of the season. And, like you said, the fixtures, it does not get any easier. If we stay in Europa, it's basically midweek match the rest of the year. So it's brutal. You're going to need to use everybody in the squad. And you're right. It is it's annoying why Malacia started today, right? Because Shaw picked up a knock. I have a feeling Shaw's knock isn't that bad because it doesn't seem like that. But it's nice that you have a left back that Ten Hag trusts to a degree. And I got to say, Malacia, I love him. He was a little too geared up to start this game. He gave away a really stupid free kick right next to our box. And I think at least on our broadcast, they said Ten Hag was gesturing to him, just calm down, relax. But he's an aggressive defender, which is necessary for his size to really perform. But I thought he played well too, and he's starting to show a little more confidence on the ball, especially in the build-up. He played a ball today, and actually he played an Anthony once too, on a cross-field pass. So he's starting to show a little bit more ability on the ball too. Where I feel like when he started, he's very safe, very much just didn't want to make a mistake. So it's nice to see him starting to show more also. And he took a shot at the end of the match. I don't know if you caught it. There was a nice little moment. He took a shot, and I think Martial was joking with him, you could have played me in. But it's fine. It was good. It was the last minute of the match anyway. But it's good to see him starting to kind of have the confidence to express himself too.
Yeah, and if you remember earlier in the season when we were struggling right at the start of the season, Malacia did get a run when Shaw was going to drop, but then Shaw's come in, been brilliant. Malacia's had this kind of bit part roles, but whenever he's come in, he's done a decent enough job. And can't really expect that much more for the amount of money he played for him, and kind of improving. But that's the main thing, that these players can come in, do a job, keep going.
Wan-Bissaka.
Well, I was just going to say, Wan-Bissaka could be missing for a couple of games with illness. Gallo hasn't quite got back to his kind of pre-World Cup form yet, although he was a bit better against Brentford at least. But Wan-Bissaka has had another good game today, apart from managing to miss an open net in the first half. That ball you wanted to fall to anyone apart from Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I will say that it kind of looked absolutely awful, but he was maybe a little bit lucky because it comes at him fast. There's probably a load of spin on it, and he was just putting his foot on it. In the first dose, looks like he's missed a total open net sitter. But no, look, generally he has been very good. That's on the ball as well, not just defensively. We always used to say, look, he's good defensively, but he can't contribute on the ball. And he's starting to link up, went back well with Anthony. And I'm pleased to see him back in. And at the moment, for me, he is getting the nod ahead of Dallo based on form. Earlier in the season, you wouldn't have even imagined saying that Aaron Wan-Bissaka was getting into this team. Not least because Dallo was having a brilliant start to the season. It was only after the World Cup and getting injured that he's not really come back into it. But yeah, as I say, these injuries have happened and we've still kept going, still kept pulling out results. It really is a massive testament to the work Ten Hag has kept doing. I mean, if we kind of close off that Everton game and have another just quick look back at that Brentford, I mean, that was actually the much bigger win for me, coming off the back of losing to Newcastle. Brentford had been in great form. They hadn't lost for something like 16 matches, whereas, Everton are down there battling. You kind of expect that we should win that game. But that Brentford one is the one that actually felt a lot more satisfying. And I thought we had a really good first half, absolutely dominated it. And I hadn't seen a team dominate Brentford like we did in that first half for a long time. And again, like you say, it was a shame we only got one goal, but we didn't create that many chances. So the XG for that game shows that one goal was kind of fair, but it's more about just how we played, how we passed, how we didn't give them any time. I think early on our kind of possession stats were very high on, like 70-odd% or something like that. Brentford did come back into it a lot more kind of in the second half. But overall in that game, we were like 65% of the ball. And, Brentford are normally a lot better than that. So, yeah, that one was the one that really actually felt like a satisfying win and that we were kind of more back on track in that game. Rashford was on the score sheet. It was an assist for Sabitzer. And like I said, talked about as well, that Martial got some minutes in there and did well. But, yeah, that has given us that springboard to get the season back going again after a bit of a kind of lull. And yeah, we will see Casemiro coming back in the team now. And I don't know, assuming that Eriksen is not going to be straight away fit, who do you think gets a nod to go forward with Casemiro?
Who would I close with? Who would I put with Casemiro? I don't want to just put Eriksen back in. I think you need to build his fitness up.
Yeah, he's not going to start straight away. He will slowly come back into it.
I still personally prefer. I think Fred and Casemiro have a partnership. They obviously play together with Brazil. I've never liked. I feel like every time McTominay has played with Casemiro, it has not been good. I have not liked when Casemiro plays. I mean, we haven't seen much of Casemiro and Sabitzer, so I wonder if maybe it's possible. Maybe Ten Hag feels they don't necessarily have the best skill sets to play with each other.
I think that's actually a bit more kind of circumstance that, Casemiro had those red cards. He was missing for certain games. Sabitzer was just kind of working his way into the team. I'm not sure that he's purposely avoided that partnership. I think it's just kind of so happened that the times that he could have done it, one of them wasn't available. And I think there was even the time where Sabitzer had a bit of a knock and missed a couple of games. But yeah, they've never played together. So yeah, that option we still have to see. And yeah, Casemiro and McTominay, have we had them playing much together? Definitely not much, if at all. I can't remember when they've started a game together. Muck Casemiro. I'm not sure if that's happened. But yeah, I've been slightly surprised that Fred didn't start any of this run of games. I mean, especially after we were poor, I thought he was going to come back in. But
I have a theory about this. I think so. If you go back all the way to the start of the season and you just look at the midfields he's picked, he always makes sure to have somebody that he feels, I think, is a real aggressive, or not aggressive, but somebody who's capable of winning challenges aerially. I think he actually has an appreciation for, and this is a thing that a lot of managers that come from other leagues struggle with. I do think he appreciates the physicality of the league and that you need to have a physical presence there. Casemiro's obviously, he's amazing. He's tremendous in the air. So that's always, you don't have to worry about that when he's there. But when Casemiro's been out, he's always started McTominay. He's made sure to have him in the team. And I think he likes having that size there. And I don't necessarily know if I agree with this, just because I haven't seen enough of Sabitzer to feel strongly. Without Casemiro, he might feel that he needs a little bit more consistency on the ball. We know Fred can be very hit or miss. I wonder if he prefers Sabitzer next to McTominay because he knows that McTominay isn't going to do what Casemiro is capable of. So that's what I kind of think is at play. But maybe he's been waiting for Sabitzer to kind of bed in and now he will play him with Casemiro. We'll see. The nice thing is with Casemiro coming back and Eriksen back now, and everybody, and Sabitzer here, Fred is obviously there, McTominay is there. We actually have options in midfield now. Like, we actually have some depth there. We haven't. I feel like this entire year we've been kind of just getting through with 2 or 3 guys healthy. So to have, really 5 central midfielders, whatever we want to think about their quality, that is actually nice to have finally.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, like you say, when the ones that kind of people like you had written off McTominay is at least showing some kind of form and saying, listen, maybe I do deserve to be playing here as well. It's actually great to see. Yeah, Sabitzer as well. The jury had slightly been out on him, but I think he's definitely been finding his way into the team, working out the way we play, and has been doing a lot better than the last couple of matches. He's a couple of shots off him. He got an assist the other day. So he is showing some light. I'm still thinking maybe he could be a long-term option for us. As I've already said quite clearly, I don't want Weghorst here next season. But Sabitzer, let's see. He's still, like I said, I'd say the jury's out, but he's definitely improving and showing a bit more week by week, I'd say. We will take another quick break there. We will come back for the last part of the show. Unfortunately, I have to talk about that Newcastle loss and then, look ahead to going back in the Europa League with Sevilla. Back to part 3 of the show. We were just rounding off that kind of Brentford win. As I said, it did feel great to get back to winning ways. And our form at Old Trafford has been absolutely outstanding. I mean, unfortunately, that Newcastle game, our away form has been bad. It has been poor, and time again, we've lost over there. I mean, I don't know if you think there's something particular about the away form or just Newcastle played well. I mean, our away form has just got so many bad results on it for some weird reason.
Yeah, our away form has been pretty diabolical, actually. Especially in comparison to the home form. I don't know what to make of it. I think some of it is, you mentioned this earlier where, Ole would play McFred, right? We'd go on these away matches and it was a lot of, we're going to sit back, we're going to try and hit you on the counter, and that's kind of what we're going to do. We're not trying to dictate the match to you. I don't think Ten Hag, I don't think he's naive, but I also don't think he's willing to compromise on his principles, which I'm fine with because I think it's important to set those standards. The problem is, it's easier to play courageous at home, right? It's easier to be brave on the ball when you're at home. It's easier to believe in your plan and press high and all those things when you have the whole Trafford crowd behind you. I think it's harder to do that on the road. And I feel like that's why we've seen these big defensive capitulations from us when we've gone away from home at times. And these matches, the Newcastle match, that could have easily been 4 or 5-0, to be honest. Where it's just you feel like there's no guys they're not doing the same. He mentioned this after the City match, right? Where he said not everybody was together. There were players that were pressing. There were players that weren't pressing. They weren't all bought in. You have to really believe in the plan and execute the plan. You can't shirk your duties and be safe. You have to stick with the plan. So I wonder if when we're away from home, there's just a little bit of doubt that creeps in, a little bit of fear, to be honest. And I wonder if that's part of it. But look, this is the time of the season where it doesn't matter. You have to get over it. And fortunately, I think the only really, I guess you would say, big away side we have left is Spurs, but we also have Brighton away, which is not going to be easy. They were very unfortunate today. That match was, I don't know if you saw the highlights of that, but just ridiculous. The calls that went against them today. But that won't be an easy match. So those two are difficult. And, again, our away form hasn't been good. We have been pretty okay away, though, in Europe, which is surprising. So I don't know why that necessarily is, but in the Premier League, our away form has not been great. So we need to figure that out. And if nothing else, we just need to be able to keep clean sheets away from home because our defensive record away from home has been very poor. I think we've given up 8 goals at home this season. So that means we've given up 29 away from home. That's just not good enough. And I know that, you've got the City match and the Liverpool match, that counts for 13 right there. And then Arsenal is another
Brentford game. We lost
Yeah.
4 early in the season.
Yeah, and then Arsenal is 3, so that's 19 of the 27 goals in 4 matches. But even then, like the points speak for themselves, right? So even if we're not shipping goals, we're not getting the results that we really want and need. We're not able, and this is again where we talked about, like, if you don't score goals, your margin for error is so thin, and away from home you have less margin for error than you do elsewhere. So hopefully we can figure it out. And even these other sides that we have to go away from home and play, some of these teams are battling relegation. These aren't going to be easy matches. They're not just going to roll over for us and lay down with how the table is stacked up. So this is like, I mean, I'm not going to act like this is the toughest close to the season that we could possibly ask for, but it's not a cakewalk either, and we shouldn't feel that way. And I'm sure that Ten Hag will make sure that the players don't feel that way about it.
No, and we've actually got more away matches to come than home matches. And yeah, that away form is a worry. I don't know why it's that bad. Can't particularly put a particular point on why. But yeah, it is the main reason why we're not in the title race. A couple of times people have thought maybe we were close to saying we were in the title race, and maybe there was one point where I thought we could say that. But yeah, we're not in it, that's for sure. And it is that away form that has been the reason behind that. Our next game is at home. But yeah, the Newcastle away was bad, and XG showed it was bad. And, we've just beaten them relatively easily in the cup. So yeah, they've turned it around and are definitely, they are going neck and neck with us for that top 4 or 5. Talking about top 4 before we go on to the Europa League, I think the one reason I'm not super worried about it is just because the likes of Tottenham, the likes of Liverpool, we don't even need to mention Chelsea, are not doing well at all. Obviously, Tottenham have fired Conte since last time we've recorded. And yeah, we've just got the kind of caretaker guy in charge over there. Brighton are the only other one that you kind of say, look, they're still surprising, they're still going. But yeah, they have dropped points today. And you kind of say you don't think Brighton are going to have enough to be breaking into that top 4. So even though maybe we've not been amazing, I wasn't so worried about it, even when we did drop points to Southampton, when we did drop points to Newcastle. I wasn't that worried just because I couldn't see who else was really going to come and bother us for that top 4 race, really. And now, anyway, getting these 2 back-to-back wins, 6 points, we feel pretty comfortable over there, right?
I would say so. It's like every time I feel like we're comfortable that we have these results, we have like 2 results in a row where you're like, well, I guess we're back in the shit. But we have a match in hand over Spurs, and we have the head-to-head against them. So if you can win your match in hand, you have a chance to really put them away, right? If you can get a result in what the hell is their stadium now? I don't even remember what it's called. Whatever.
Tottenham.
But yeah, if we can get a result there, that'd be massive for us. And I honestly, I know they want. They look. Every time I've watched them this year, they just look pretty shambolic. And it's just a lot of Kane individual brilliance covering up so much for them. They leak goals constantly. We should be finishing ahead of Spurs for sure. And the other tricky match we have left, we didn't even mention this. We play Villa at home. They have the best.
They are a crazy form.
Yeah.
Actually,
They have the second most points in the league since Emery got there after Arsenal. So they're no joke either. This is again, like I don't want to act like we're playing the toughest run in ever, but it is not. You're right. It's not easy at all. And I don't think we're safe for top 4. I think that there's a lot to still play for.
Oh yeah. It's definitely, like I say, each time people think we're safe and secure over there, something does happen to make us kind of feel, yeah, we have to keep fighting for it. But these 2 back-to-back wins here, especially that Brentford one that looked like a tricky one on paper, is like making us feel a lot safer. But yeah, you mentioning Emery is a nice little segue into talking about our European game just coming up against Sevilla. Yeah, he's a manager who made his name at Sevilla, obviously won this competition several times. Sevilla were the kind of specialists of the Europa League. want it more than anybody else. But they're having an absolute dire season. They're actually on like manager number 3 now. I mean, Hulan Lopetegui, who's now turned up at Wolves, was their manager at the start of the season. They then had Jorge Sampaoli, who was just sacked a few weeks ago since the draw to us. And now they're finishing the season with somebody who I never knew that much about. But yeah, Jose Mendilibar, who was at Alaves and Eibar, is their manager at the moment, will be their manager facing us. But they have actually had a slight upturn in form since he's come in. I mean, they're still pretty low down in La Liga. I think they're like 12, 13, something like that. But they have won and drawn their last couple of games. So yeah, before that, they were losing a lot. But yeah, their season is kind of a write-off. So sometimes that's the kind of dangerous time to play a team. They've got nothing to play for in the league, so we're going to be all in on these Europa games against us. But it's kind of good that we've got the first leg at home. We'll see what happens there. I mean, I mentioned this on the podcast before, that it's kind of weird that we're playing the team who are now like sat 12, kind of 13 in La Liga, and when we've already beat the team who were 6th in La Liga and already beat the team who were first, probably going to win La Liga. Each kind of round we come up against the Spanish team who were supposedly worse than the one we beat in the round before. But yeah, that's where we're at.
It's pretty mad how many Spanish teams we've played in the last few years, right? Yeah, we played Barca. We've played Atletico last year in the Champions League. We played Villarreal last year in the Champions League too, right? Then we played Sociedad this year. We played Betis. Now we're playing, like you mentioned, Sevilla. So yeah, we've played a lot of Spanish teams the last few years.
And yeah, we in the past we always had really awful records. First of all, we've knocked out Barcelona, knocked out Real Betis, who are running pretty strong this season. Is actually brilliant for us to be going over there. It does make all the difference, and you'd expect we should be going through in this one. I mean, I've questioned how much we need to really be fighting for this. The 2-legged matches, all the travel, we would really need it. But it is kind of like the second best trophy we could win, because obviously we went in the Champions League and we're not really going for the Premier League realistically. So yeah, that Europa League would be a brilliant one to win, and yeah, we haven't done it since the one time we did it under Jose.
You know who we're destined to play in the final, right?
Who?
Roma.
Mourinho's Roma.
Are you going to go to the final if we make it?
Let's see. It's in Budapest. I didn't go to that Stockholm final, so yeah, maybe I would love to make that trip over there. Although to be honest, because I've not done many Europa aways in recent years, since my daughter was born, I've not done any. I mean, I used to normally always try and do 1 or 2 a season in the past, but I haven't done any, so I don't have that many European credits anymore. So yeah, it all depends how many people are up for that trip. So I wouldn't necessarily be getting a ticket for it. There's a lot of guys who've done a lot more of these matches who deserve it there. But yeah, we shouldn't take them totally for granted. Sevilla, they've still got some decent players. The likes of kind of always go and look at the kind of squad list. They've got Eric Lamela over there. Their top scorer is Youssef En-Nesyri, who's the kind of striker for Morocco at the World Cup. Not got that many though. That has been their main problem. I mean, their top striker of the season only got 7 goals. So yeah, they really struggled to score goals. They're a bit better kind of defensively, but yeah, as I say, generally they've had a poor season. And, they're still rolling out people like Rakitic in midfield, Croatian, who's like 35 years old, still play for them. There's quite a few kind of names that you recognise in the lineup, but some of them, a lot of them are kind of past their best and seen better days. So you would think that, yeah, over 2 legs, we should take this. Maybe even we should kind of kill it in leg number 1 so that we can rotate and rest a few players in the second leg.
It would be great. I mean, that would be great. It requires us to score goals. Our one nemesis, scoring goals. But if we can do that, I mean, yeah, that's what we had that advantage against Betis, right? We won 4-1 the first leg, and he didn't rest a lot. But as soon as we scored 1 goal in the second leg, he just, he took out Rashford, took out Bruno. He would have taken out Casemiro, but Casemiro had a suspension, so he said, no, you can just stay on the pitch. But yeah, so that would be great if we can do that. And then, after that, I mean, who do we play next? Who do we play in the league next?
Nottingham Forest. So yeah.
Yeah.
Forest, away, who are obviously fighting for their lives. So that's the game that's in between the two legs of Sevilla. Then after that, it's the FA Cup semi-final against Brighton.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
our next 4 games are actually 3 cup matches with just that one Premier League game against Forest in the middle of it all. So yeah, this next run will decide where we're at going in these cups. A date at Wembley with Brighton will be the next one on there. So yeah, it's good that we're feeling a bit more comfortable, like I say, with these 2 wins in the league, that we can maybe put a bit of focus onto these cups. Even though I put a downer on it all season, saying, look, too many matches, we cannot go all be fighting on 4 fronts. If we're feeling a bit more comfortable about top 4, they say, look, let's go for it. Like, to come out of this season with top 4, already, if we came out with top 4 and 1 trophy, it was like ahead of my expectations. If we came out with 2 trophies, top 4 would be brilliant. 3 trophies is just like dream world. I mean, we can't start talking about pretend trebles like the Scousers used to and things like that, but still, from the place we've been at, not having won anything for so many years, it'd be so amazing to have another finals to go to for our fans over there. So yeah, as I say, this next run of game is all about the cups. Still that Forest game where we need to get some kind of result in the middle of it. But yeah, let's see. I mean, I had asked this question on past ones, and I don't know if you have different, because yeah, often some of our British podcasters, that FA Cup has a bit of history, so they kind of feel a bit of affinity to it. And I know maybe you don't have that same kind of affinity. I mean, out of the Europa League and the FA Cup, if you had to kind of focus on one and say, I want that one, which one are you going for?
Europa, just because there's a much bigger reward, right? At the end of it, like it's a second avenue to get Champions League football, which I think is really our biggest goal this year, which is sad. But that is what it is. That's the state of the club at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I just always think like I think Ten Hag has done a good job of like he doesn't rotate a ton, but I feel like he rotates enough, and he's shown enough trust in his squad at various points in the cups where it's like, he wants to win all of them. He's made that very clear. I think it's important actually to set that standard down. I don't really like these Arsenal. I've seen their fans like kind of celebrate being knocked out of the cups, and I agree. Like I wouldn't care if we had gotten knocked out of the FA Cup earlier, but I don't know if that's something to celebrate. And I think it does say something that we're still in these cups. I think it would mean a lot to go the distance in the cups and get top 4 in the league. That would be a really, really successful season. It would show a lot of growth from not just, the manager, from, the improvement that we have at the manager level, but also it would show a lot from the players who, let's be honest, after last year, it was fair to question their mentality and their desire and all those things, given what we saw, right? And to bounce back, and if they could deliver a season like that, that'd be great. But yeah, if you asked me to pick between the two, I would say Europa, but we haven't won the FA Cup in a while, so, why not?
Yeah, and I think mostly everybody did go for Europa, and it does just show how what people feel about the Europa League has changed so much. And I remember when we used to laugh at, Thursday night, Channel 5 used to be our thing in England. Channel 5 is a channel you won't know that doesn't show sport. And they were the channel who used to show Europa League matches like back in the day. But now, yeah, people take it a lot more seriously.
Well, I remember one year we dropped out of, I think it was, it's Ferguson's second to last year. We dropped out of the Champions League in the group stages, and then we played in Europa, and you could tell that like nobody in our squad cared at all. Like their effort was so bad. But now you see it like it's taken seriously by all the big clubs that are in it, right? I mean, Arsenal, they went out, but like they played a full strength side. They were trying to get through that tie. They wanted to get through that tie. And so these competitions are no joke. So to win Europa at this point is it look, obviously it's not the Champions League, but it's not just some bullshit competition. It means something. It means something beyond just, we got Champions League. Like it's a legitimate trophy to win.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think that rounds us up for this show. We'll probably come back. We won't come back after that Sevilla game. Probably after Forest or the second leg of Sevilla. We've kind of been finding schedules a bit more difficult lately, so that's why we've had the kind of 3 matches to talk about on this one. But it's sometimes kind of cool just to look back at kind of a few matches together and see how they've all gone, rather than just reporting on one game and all. But yeah, look, like I say, if we'd recorded a week ago, it would have been a very depressing show having lost to Newcastle. But yeah, it feels a lot more different after back-to-back wins now. We will come back, like I say, after Forest or after the 2 Sevilla legs, see where we're at. And yeah, prepare for going to Wembley against Brighton. But yeah, that is all up for us for this week. We will see you on the next one. Good night from me.
Good night from me.